Welcome to Google's. Today we're diving into the world of North Korea, the most secretive country on Earth. It's a place where reality feels like fiction and every fact leaves you scratching your head. Buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. North Korea is the world's most isolated nation, where the government controls every aspect of life. Think of it like airplane mode, but for an entire country. There's no internet for regular citizens, just a state-run intranet called Pyongyang. It features about 30 websites, all filled with propaganda or educational content approved by the regime. Google? Never heard of it. Facebook? Forget it. The only thing trending here is Kim Jong Un. Travel is another story. North Koreans can't leave the country without government permission, and even moving between cities requires special permits. The same rules apply to foreign visitors. Tourists can only visit places approved by the state and are always accompanied by government guides. You won't find any backpackers roaming freely in Pyongyang. It's a bubble designed to keep information in and outsiders out. While the rest of the world enjoys memes and cat videos, North Koreans get speeches and news about how great their leaders are. It's the ultimate Truman Show, except everyone is Truman. North Korea's version of YouTube, KimTube. Every video has one star, Kim Jong Un. North Korea's leaders are more than just politicians, they're practically worshipped. It all started with Kim Il-sung, the founder of the regime. His image is everywhere, from statues to badges worn by citizens. Every home and office is required to display portraits of Kim Il-sung and his son, Kim Jong-il, and these must be kept spotless. Damaging one, even accidentally, can result in punishment or imprisonment. The cult extends to bizarre lengths. Even mundane objects connected to the Kims, like benches they sat on, are turned into monuments. People are taught to believe that their leaders are divine. When Kim Il-sung died in 1994, citizens were required to publicly mourn. Failure to cry convincingly? You could face harsh consequences. This obsession with the Kim family isn't just enforced, it's baked into the education system. Kids learn songs, poems, and stories praising their leaders. The result? A nation where loyalty isn't just expected, it's mandatory. If Taylor Swift fans think they're dedicated, they've got nothing on North Koreans. North Korea's guiding philosophy is Juche, introduced by Kim Il-sung. It means self-reliance and emphasizes independence from foreign influence. On paper, it sounds noble. In practice, it's used to justify the country's isolation and totalitarian rule. The government claims they don't need the outside world, except when it comes to food aid, fuel, and other essentials. For decades, North Korea's leaders have blamed external enemies, like the US, and South Korea for the country's struggles. During famines, propaganda urged citizens to tighten their belts and endure for the greater good. Meanwhile, foreign aid quietly flowed in to prevent widespread collapse. Juche is also tied to military strength. The regime spends a significant portion of its budget on the army, leaving little for the people. It's a philosophy of independence that's ironically propped up by outside help. Juche, because who needs friends when you've got isolation and denial? Korea wasn't always divided. Before World War II, it was a single, unified nation. But after Japan's defeat in 1945, the peninsula was split along the 38th parallel. The North fell under Soviet influence, while the South allied with the United States. What followed was one of the world's most dramatic sibling rivalries. Today, the difference between the two Koreas is stark. South Korea is a global powerhouse, home to K-pop, cutting-edge technology, and a booming economy. North Korea, by contrast, remains stuck in the past. Its infrastructure is outdated, and its citizens live under constant surveillance. The divide isn't just physical, it's cultural. While South Koreans enjoy freedom and prosperity, their northern neighbors face isolation and fear. It's a tragic reminder of how politics can shape the fate of a nation. If South Korea is a shiny new Tesla, North Korea is a rusty bicycle with a flat tire. In 1950, North Korea invaded South Korea, triggering the Korean War. Backed by Soviet weapons, the North quickly advanced, but US and UN forces stepped in to push them back. The conflict dragged on for 3 years, with millions of casualties on both sides. The war ended in a stalemate, with the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, established as the border. Today, the DMZ is both a military hotspot and a tourist attraction. Visitors can peer into North Korea through binoculars, while soldiers keep watch. The Korean War never officially ended. A ceasefire was declared, but no peace treaty was signed. Technically, the two Koreas are still at war, a tense reminder of their fractured history. The DMZ come for the views, stay for the landmines. While South Korea has transformed into an economic juggernaut, North Korea lags far behind. The contrast is so extreme that satellite images show South Korea glowing brightly at night, while North Korea remains mostly dark. The regime prioritizes its military over its people, leading to widespread poverty. Basic necessities like food, electricity, and clean water are often in short supply. Meanwhile, South Korea continues to grow its economy by focusing on exports and a highly skilled professional workforce. In North Korea, blackout season isn't just a phenomenon, it's a lifestyle. The 1990s famine, known as the Arduous March, was one of North Korea's darkest periods. Millions of people died due to starvation, caused by government mismanagement, a collapsing economy, and natural disasters. To make matters worse, the regime didn't admit failure. Instead, it told citizens to eat 2 meals a day instead of 3 and branded it a healthier lifestyle. While people were starving, the government blamed external enemies like the US for imposing sanctions, even though food aid from these very enemies kept the population alive. Propaganda spun these hardships into a story of resilience, claiming the people's sacrifices were necessary to achieve a stronger nation. In reality, the regime's priorities were skewed. Resources were funneled to the military, while civilians were left to fend for themselves. Stories of people eating grass, tree bark, and even resorting to cannibalism emerged from this period, a chilling testament to the desperation people faced. North Korea, the only place where a famine is marketed as a diet plan. North Korea has a unique approach to earning foreign currency: forced labor. The government sends workers abroad, mainly to Russia and China, to work in industries like construction, logging, and farming. These workers are tightly monitored, and up to 90% of their wages go directly to the regime. For the workers, it's like living in 2 prisons at once. They can't escape because their families back home would face severe punishment. And even abroad, they're under constant surveillance by North Korean agents who ensure they stay in line. This practice is a major source of revenue for the regime, bringing in millions annually. But for the workers, it's exploitation on an unimaginable scale. North Korea's motto for labor abroad: work hard, earn less, and keep smiling, or else. Nestled in the demilitarized zone is Kijong-dong, a village North Korea claims is a thriving community. But here's the truth: it's entirely fake. The buildings are empty shells with no residents. Lights are turned on and off to create the illusion of activity, and speakers blast patriotic music to the south. This so-called peace village is actually a propaganda tool designed to make life in the north seem idyllic. But South Korean soldiers, armed with binoculars, quickly exposed the ruse. They noticed that the windows lacked glass, and the villagers were nothing more than actors. Kijong-dong, the only neighborhood where even the ghosts don't want to live. Most world leaders fly, but not North Korea's. The Kim family prefers to travel in style, aboard heavily armored trains. These luxurious trains are equipped with banquet halls, meeting rooms, and sleeping quarters, offering the perfect mix of paranoia and comfort. Kim Jong-il, known for his fear of flying, took a 20-day train journey to Moscow in 2001. His son, Kim Jong Un, continues the tradition, traveling by train for international visits. The trains are slow but offer unparalleled security because nothing says safe travel like moving at 30 miles per hour. Flying is overrated when you can spend weeks on a luxury train. Who needs speed when you've got banquets? North Korea owes much of its early development to the Soviet Union. After World War II, the USSR provided military aid, economic support, and industrial equipment to help the North rebuild. Kim Il-sung, a staunch communist, maintained a close relationship with Moscow, which propped up his regime. But when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, North Korea's lifeline was severed. The loss of this support plunged the country into economic chaos, leading to widespread famine. For a nation built on the idea of self-reliance, it was a harsh reality check. North Korea post-USSR. Wait, you mean we actually have to do things ourselves now? In recent years, rumors have surfaced that North Korea has sent troops to assist Russia in the war in Ukraine. If true, this marks their first foreign military deployment since the Korean War. While details remain unclear, the move highlights North Korea's willingness to back its allies, even when it means crossing borders. North Korea, why stay home when you can stir up trouble abroad? One of the most inspiring stories from North Korea is that of Yeonmi Park, who escaped at the age of 13. Her journey to freedom took her through China and Mongolia before she finally found safety in South Korea. Along the way, she faced unimaginable hardships, including human trafficking and constant fear of being caught. Today, Yeonmi is a global activist speaking out about the regime's human rights abuses. Her story is a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the lengths people will go to for freedom. Escaping North Korea sounds harder than beating Dark Souls on the hardest difficulty. Despite its strict internet controls, there's reportedly one active Steam user in Pyongyang. Who this gamer is remains a mystery, but they've been spotted playing titles like Counter-Strike. Some speculate it's a privileged government official, or even Kim Jong Un himself. Imagine logging into a game and finding out your opponent is the supreme leader. Kim Jong Un's Steam username would be something like Supreme Sniper 137? The internet in North Korea is more myth than reality. Only a select few have access, and even then, it's heavily monitored. Regular citizens are restricted to the state-controlled intranet, which offers a few dozen websites filled with propaganda. Social media? Non-existent. Search engines? Forget it. The only thing trending here is loyalty to the regime. North Korea's internet, where the homepage is always Kim Jong Un's latest speech. Visiting North Korea as a tourist is not like going to Paris or Rome. Everything is tightly controlled. You'll be part of an official tour group, accompanied by government-appointed guides who act as both chaperones and watchdogs. They decide where you go, what you see, and even what you can photograph. Want to take a picture of a soldier or a rundown street? Not happening. They'll make you delete it on the spot. Tourists are shown a sanitized version of North Korea. You'll visit spotless libraries where no one reads books, bustling restaurants with no customers, and well-stocked shops that ordinary citizens aren't allowed to enter. It's all a performance, carefully curated to project an image of prosperity and order. Despite the restrictions, thousands of tourists visit North Korea every year, mostly from China. Some go out of curiosity, while others want to witness the surrealism of it all. Touring North Korea is like going to a play where everyone's an actor, except the snacks cost freedom. North Korea may lack internet access for most of its citizens, but it's a global player in cybercrime. The country's elite hackers have been linked to major attacks, like the 2014 Sony Pictures hack, where they leaked sensitive data in retaliation for the comedy film The Interview, which mocked Kim Jong Un. Another notorious incident was the 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack, which paralyzed organizations worldwide, including hospitals. These hackers are part of specialized units trained from a young age. Selected for their technical skills, they undergo rigorous training in both North Korea and China. Their mission? To steal money, disrupt systems, and showcase the regime's power in the digital age. North Korea's cyber motto: Control-Alt-Delete your bank account. North Korea doesn't use the Gregorian calendar like most of the world. Instead, they follow the Juche calendar, which starts from the birth year of Kim Il-sung, 1912. By their count, it's currently Juche year 113. The calendar is a symbol of North Korea's ideological independence, or, as the rest of the world sees it, a quirky way to stay out of sync with everyone else. This calendar isn't just used internally, it's enforced on all official documents, making it yet another layer of propaganda. Imagine trying to explain Juche year 113 at a global conference. It's like being the only kid in class who insists on writing their homework in Klingon. In North Korea, food distribution isn't equal. The military gets top priority, while civilians often go hungry. Even during famines, the regime ensured that soldiers were well fed to maintain loyalty and readiness. Ordinary citizens, however, were left to survive on what little they could scavenge. The regime has also introduced food rationing cards and promoted bizarre self-reliance campaigns, urging people to eat things like grass and tree bark during shortages. Meanwhile, propaganda insists that these sacrifices are noble and patriotic. North Korea, where the military eats steak and civilians get a side of bark. If there's one thing North Korea excels at, it's propaganda. Every piece of media, from books to movies to news broadcasts, is designed to glorify the Kim family. Schools teach children songs and poems praising the leaders, and every public event starts with a quote from Kim Jong Un or Kim Jong Il. The regime doesn't just control the narrative, they define it. Even ordinary objects become symbols of loyalty. For example, if Kim Jong Un visits a factory, that factory becomes a historic site. Benches he sits on are turned into monuments, and stones he steps over are roped off as sacred. North Korea, the only place where a bench can have a better resume than most people. And there you have it, 20 shocking facts about North Korea. Which one surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more fascinating stories. Stay curious with Googlets.